Now we're finally getting to the request for the reimbursement of legal fees and expenses for the Board of Directors of the Economic Development Authority. Mr. Daly, I don't believe that you have a comment right now. We know where we got to go with this. Do we have a motion?
I would make the motion. I am unable to commit taxpayer dollars to the EDA Board's attorney's fees as a result of the indictments. With the information that I have at this time, while I sympathize greatly with these volunteers, we have to understand the greater budget commitment before I can support a decision on this motion. So I would make a motion to not approve these attorney's fees at this time with the information we have.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those approved?
No discussion.
No discussion?
No, I appreciate that. And I think that if I understand, the EDA has agreed to reimburse contingent on, I don't know, want to come up here, Mr. Daly?
Yes, sir.
The EDA has passed a motion that they would reimburse these contingent on receiving funds from the board, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I guess I look at it from the standpoint that it'd be difficult to get people to volunteer. I know we heard some of the comments, I'm sure we'll hear some more. But I think you have a difficult time getting people to volunteer for boards if they run that risk of getting sued personally and they have to put that money out of their pocket. And I think that's the bigger picture, because I think you're going to lose a lot of good people that would be willing to serve and do a good job, but if they had that risk, they wouldn't necessarily take it. In this particular instance, the reimbursement is based on the charges that were dismissed, which I think there's been some discussion too that those charges possibly should not have ever been brought up in the first place. Are there going to be further charges in the future? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. And those should be considered on their own merit at that time. And again, if the person was convicted, in no way should we reimburse them if they were found guilty. But in this case here, I think we should give that all consideration that we can do that. And I know there's been some questions on the discrepancy in some of the amounts, and that does cause some concern. But I think, and I guess you know, part of that is some of the attorneys charge a flat hourly fee, some charge a retainer with a, if it exceeded that, then they go to the hourly fee. Several attorneys, and actually I contacted one, but well, actually I contacted two, and they just want to charge a flat fee. And I just felt like the flat fee was too much. They were taking a chance, I was taking a chance that if they settled it quickly, they kind of, quote, kind of windfall. If it went to trial, they would have spent much more time and it would have been more costly to do it that way. So that's where I think part of that discrepancy comes from. And again, if you know, that's like we will, but if we did, I think it would have to be something too that this would kind of be a loan, and then it's something in writing that the EDA would reimburse us once they recover some assets, which I hope that happens, although it may not be for a while.
Additional comment? Mr. Wallace?
Could we put that into the motion?
The whole thing I just said?
Please, if the EDA would repay the county, would pay the debt.
The EDA still has to approve it. All we're doing is basically funding it.
Okay.
But right now, the motion is to.
So can I speak again? Is it
Any other additional comments, and she can speak again?
Well, my thought is that we need to support them by being proactive and looking to insure them so that if this happens again, and hopefully, but that anything that they have an insurance that will back them up without them having to put out the money or the county to put out the money. And I'm not really sure why there wasn't some kind of an insurance policy to protect them to begin with, but I want to look into that. So I'm not trying to dump you, but I do want to protect you in the future because I do value your service that you're doing.
May I address that? As far as I know, I mean, that was the same thing with the county. The county has a D&O policy, directors and officers. The EDA had directors and officers policy too. And that basically protects them about policies they set, or if they discriminate or something that I don't believe, and I don't know all policies. Mr. Ham may be able to contribute, but since this was considered a criminal activity, I don't believe you're going to find any insurance policy that will protect somebody against a criminal activity, even if they had their own personal umbrellas. It would have to come down to that. I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'll let you talk now.
ventured, nothing gained. I'm not an insurance person, but I'm definitely getting to be part investigator, so I don't mind trying to find that out.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may address that briefly, when these charges were first made, we had that question with the EDA, what about our D&O insurance? And that did not cover anything of this nature. And we, Mrs. Martin, did an extensive research trying to find what coverage we could provide for somebody who in the future who was accused and found innocent. And we could not find any insurance that would be available. So if you can find something else that would take public authorities, that would be very helpful.
I'm working on that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Oates, you had something else?
I'm fine. That's, Cheryl addressed it.
All right, I'm not sure if Mr. Carter asked me to comment on that insurance question or not, but, you know, there is no insurance for an intentional criminal act. And, you know, whether or not you decide to do this is entirely up to you, but you're not going to be able to buy insurance to cover this type of thing. You know, and this is why it was, for example, in the county administrator's contract. I mean, you know, Mr. Stanley has the benefit of county insurance too, but it comes down to the organization choosing to defend its employees and officers or not.
Do we have a change in the motion?
No. I made the motion to not approve.
Correct.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Ms. Kohler seconded.
All,
We need to do a roll call.
I was just going to say that if this motion fails, you made a motion to deny.
Yes.
It gets confusing. So you got to vote yes to deny instead of no to whatever.
That's correct.
But if that fails, maybe we could readdress it and look at maybe limiting the amount that we would pay for each one, like $4,000, and then they can go from there and still have it like in writing that they would reimburse us at that time.
Well, I think Mrs. Oates' motion said that she was willing to look at it. You know, this is an ongoing process, so at the end of the process, if they wanted to bring it back, her motion was that it could be brought back. I think.
Actually, what was your motion? It's been a while.
So
too much discussion.
it's too much. Yeah, it's overwhelming. It's too much discussion. But my overall concern is that, you know, and I respect the board and the service the EDA gives to us. But the problem is that at this point, the budget is a big question mark because we don't know how much we're going to have to absorb from the EDA when the EDA is no longer to pay its bills now. And so I can't ask you to give us can't ask this board to give you a loan when you can't pay your bills already. So that would be foolish. So I just think that with the information that we have currently, I think that it would be think it would be wrong of me to commit taxpayer dollars to do this until I have more information about what our budget's gonna look like going forward.
So would you suggest postponing? Or you just want to go ahead and deny it and?
Mr. Ham, if we was to deny this, can this be reintroduced to the board at some point in the future? 12 months.
It's 12 months. I
It's
believe.
12 months, isn't it?
I'm not sure, I had just thought of that issue and was flipping through your rules to try and figure that out.
I thought that the member voted in the majority, they could bring an item back, they didn't have to wait 12 months. If somebody voted in the minority, then they would have to wait 12 months or for the new board, which I guess may be calendar year.
Yeah,
I think we've always done it, and there again, that if you voted in the majority, you could bring that issue back for further consideration.
Comment?
Yeah, I think that's correct. It is 1 year, so I don't know what the vote is going to be today, but let's say that it passes, which means that it will not happen. Then that means that if you vote against it, Mr. Carter, you can't bring it up for a year. But whoever voted in favor of not passing this could bring it up.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Are we ready for a roll call?
Mr. Fox?
No.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Oates?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm confused. I thought we were voting to deny it.
We did.
We did.
Which was a yes.
Which
Okay,
was
and
a
that
yes.
included Mr. Carter?
Yes. Yes.
He wants to bring it up again.
Okay.
And that, if I'm not mistaken, that does allow the EDA to bring it up at some point in time again.
Yes.
That's the whole, what we're trying to do. We're just not dispensing the money correct right now.